Map of East Griqualand and what was before that Hans and Nicholas's area of no man's land with the sand. We're going to try and get that back. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Peter's very humble. Actually, we're going to launch a legal challenge to reinstitute the chieftainship of the Cox. But by doing that, we need to go back to the early archival records, which takes quite a lot of research, but we will crack that one. Me and him have started already on Saturday, and we're going to see how the line was continued after the Cox, where it actually passed on, I think, after the 1880s. So that is also part of the work. This is not just a tea and cake session, guys. We're actually moving towards engaging, not politically, not at all, but historically and legacy-wise for us to get back what belongs to the people. We're not asking, look, I know that Hans Dietman and them are definitely looking for some sort of an amicable settlement, but it also involves the claims of the sand and that sort of thing. But before I call up Martin Finn to give us the acceptance speech, I just want to say that we've also met here, keeping it in mind that the late Paramount Chief Modest Finn, who I actually learned from, and I've had many meetings with him and discussions, is where my interest was piqued in these sort of matters, is that we today also remember him, because if it wasn't individuals like him, we were not going to be having these meetings. A lot of people laughed it off and that sort of thing, but let me just tell you that now, this issue of Khoisan and land and money, it's billions, and people are fighting to get through the door. Today, every man wants to be a Khoisan chief or some sort of chief. But you know, one of the biggest problems trying to access that is that the Act asks you to provide an anthropology report. And that's why we've got this man sitting here, because without a signed off anthropology report by a professor or a doctor in that field, you're going to fall flat on your face. And they also want you to provide your genealogy. So we're working on proving that Peter Samuels is on the distaff side. When we say distaff, we're talking about females. But in terms of our culture, the female in the colored and Khoisan culture, lineage can come from that. You know, in other, like in Zulus and all that, well, maybe only now you can through, but it was mostly through the male line. But with us, we can switch to the distaff. So even if we suddenly feel that there's a prominence, and that lady had a son and she was more of a leader than the guy, in our culture that became the leader, because it's called egalitarian. We were not hard and fast on patriarchal leadership. For argument's sake, Marvin Lazi, who was the paramount chief of the Finns, was a woman for many years. All those chiefs were under her. So just remember that that is our tradition. And as you even know too, there is a colored person. If you come home, you answer to your wife. You're not the boss. In other traditions, a wife don't dare raise a voice. There'll be big problems. Right. I also want to just give a quick mention, is that, you know, we must also thank guys like, and I'm going to mention them by name because it's very, very important to recognize people as individuals when they do something. Andre the Brains sitting there. Please stand up, Andre. Bradley Steenkamp. Please stay standing, Andre, just for 1 second, and then I don't see any other. Andre, is there anybody else that you came up from the Khoisan side? All right, guys, thank you. Guys, our interest is these gentlemen. They may not be of a bloodline in terms of proven and that sort of thing. Anthropologically, but they have done far more than most of us to make people aware, have taken on governments at the highest level, and have really created an interest. So I don't want to discuss too much about that, but we need to also honor them and to bring them in as leaders. There's a guy called Paul Noah, he's not here. Like wherever you go, he's considered a madman in Winter. He only talks Khoisan. I don't know what's his motivation, but my interest in him is not so much him, but it's his wife. His wife, talking about what Doc has spoken, just to show you how this thing is interconnected. You spoke about how Hans and him had to point out to the Cape authorities when there was a shipwreck The Cape authorities were only interested if there were whites on board and if they died. So even if you touched one white man and you murdered him, make no mistake, the British soldiers, what Peter quietly termed and I saw up there called the redcoats, were coming to seek you and to seek what they call justice. So when there was a shipwreck in Transkei, many shipwrecks, there was a guy called Saunders, whose Peter's wife is a Saunders from Transkei, and they also intermarried with Lochenberg. But there was a particular white lady called the Dennis family. There was a shipwreck. Her father was a white guy and her mother was Indian, and they were traveling from India, and the ship got wrecked there. And you won't believe it, the whole of Europe knew that she was shipwrecked in Transkei. Doc actually said to me, in 1782, headlines in all the newspapers in Europe and London, there's this lady, this young girl, she's been raped daily by Hottentots and crosses. And suddenly, I don't know, Doc, you explained to me that when they actually did the investigation, that was refuted. And she was actually married there and whatever. And today, the Dennis family is in Wentworth. So this history is beautiful. It was big in Europe. Henry Francis Finn himself was no fool. He was an academic, he was almost a doctor. If you read the words that he writes today, you can't understand his English, it's so high. So those are not fools. You know, they were colonial masters and administrators who did not shirk from issuing the death sentence if he felt like it. And summarily. So even those Pondos were extremely afraid of him. When he called you out, and like when he went there for hunts, Willem actually stood up to him with the missionaries. They gave him advice not to give over no man's land to him. It wasn't his to give, but they gave him that advice. You will not believe it, he catapulted. And Finn was under a Skelmgate story to get all those farms for white colonials that were coming to Durban. And that's what, in 1866, it was the next. But Faku saw when he came with shock and was afraid, and he told the guys, if you don't give him to Finn, he's going to move in the British soldiers here. Let's take the 1,000 head of cattle from him and hand over the land to him. So don't think that for one, they may write nice and talk nice, but their actions were dire if you did not comply with their instructions. And they were not asking you, they were telling you. All right, Martin, just not to deviate, please. So Martin's coming to give us the section speech in memory of Paramount Chief Modest Finn. Thank you guys. Please let's give him a hand.